political tensions between the two countries. So Penny Wong has acknowledged that there are some big challenges in the relationship. Australia has put on the record it wants certain issues resolved to get the relationship back on the right track, but she says having talks, having dialogue is a prerequisite for that. So really on the agenda today during this meeting with her Chinese counterpart will be two key issues. The first is the detainment of Australian journalist Cheng Lei and writer Yang Hengjun. They have been imprisoned now for several years in China. The second key issue is the $20 billion worth of trade sanctions that China has slapped on Australian goods, including beef, wine and barley. They are two issues that the government wants resolved, and Penny Wong has said she'll be raising them in her talks this evening.
It's very good to be here in China after quite a long time between visits. Look forward to a meeting in which we canvass many of the issues that are important to us. I think the mark of success is dialogue itself. We obviously have a lot of issues to work through, and dialogue is a prerequisite for working through them.
And Jane, this dialogue is the first ministerial visit in more than 3 years. What's prompted the turnaround in bilateral relationships?
Yeah, well, officially, this visit is to mark the 50th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic ties between Australia and China. But I think it's fair to say, since the change of government in May, since Labor was elected, it's provided a chance to reset what had become a very strained relationship, particularly during the pandemic. And Labor has certainly changed its tone. It's toned down the kind of rhetoric the coalition government had been using in relation to China, and that has clearly helped reopen lines of communication. But equally, there has been a bit of a shift in tone from China itself. The country has largely ditched its wolf warrior diplomacy of years gone by, and the President Xi Jinping at a recent summit in the G20 in Bali was really launching a charm offensive, which would suggest that he is very conscious of the way in which China is viewed globally. So it's great to see Beijing obviously, interacting now, having these sit-down meetings with countries including Australia. But I guess the test will really come in the weeks and months following this visit by Penny Wong to see if in fact there has been any change in status on the trade sanctions or whether those high-profile Australians have finally been freed.
Jane Norman in Canberra Parliament House, thank you.
To the good news of the morning, and 4 teenagers have been found alive on a small island after being swept away from shore by strong winds while paddleboarding off the coast of Victoria's Mornington Peninsula. We were bringing you the news of their disappearance about this time yesterday. On the ground for us was Roseanne Maloney, who joins us from Geelong Hospital today, where we're very happy to say that one of the teenagers is recovering.
The situation is good. Some indicators need to be back to normal, but everything.
So that was the Jack Shi, who is the father of Rong Shi, who is recovering there in Geelong Hospital. He is recovering pretty well, actually, as his dad was just saying there, Roseanne.
Yes, Mads, he is feeling absolutely, ecstatic about the fact that his son is doing okay and that he's safe and in hospital and obviously getting the treatment that he needs. I saw him this morning as he was walking into the hospital, and he was very sprightly, feeling very positive about everything. I mean, his son, as you mentioned, he travelled across the bay. He said he was in the water for 9 hours before they made it to Swan Island. And in fact, they actually said that they saw the helicopters and the boats that were looking for them while they were out in the water. But of course, they didn't find them before they made it to the island. I did speak with him earlier, and he was telling me just how happy he was about the situation. Here's what he had to say.
The situation is good. Some indicators need to be back to normal, but everything looks very well.
Keeping me alive I was just trying to get a hot donut. I really want it.
Yeah, that was wrong there, saying, Roseanne, what was keeping him alive was the idea of a hot donut. We've got some donuts here in the studio to celebrate him there. Did you have one too? Am I right in thinking that?
I did. Yes, I did went and pick up a donut. I thought we had to celebrate the moment, so I'm going to be enjoying it as well along with his son, and I think we all should be very happy. You know, this is an amazing result for an event that could have turned out very differently.
Yeah, and Rong and his friends were just so grateful, they said, to all of the emergency services who helped them out, who put out those, the air wing and everyone, all the volunteers who went down to try and find them.
Very grateful. In fact, they even thanked the taxpayer, they said, for paying for all of that to be able to have that search and rescue mission underway as well.
All right, well, he's recovering there. We wish him all the best. Thanks so much, Roseanne.
To finance now, and to finance now, and a social media finfluencer has been found to have breached financial laws by the federal court. ASIC had accused Tyson ASX Wolf Schultz of providing financial advice and share tips on Twitter and Instagram without a licence. In March, ASIC announced a crackdown on so-called finfluencers, people who use social media to give advice without the required qualifications. The matter is listed for a case management hearing next week.
Manufacturing giant 3M says it will stop making and using the chemicals PFAS by the end of 2025. The materials are used in hundreds of everyday products, including food packaging, mobile phones and cooking pans, to make them water resistant and non-stick. But the chemicals have been linked to a range of health problems, including cancer. They also don't break down under normal environmental conditions.
Let's take a quick look at global markets, and the ASX futures are looking a little bit higher after Wall Street also ended its day in trade. A touch higher, 0.2% higher. The Aussie dollar's buying about 66.7 US cents, and gold trading at $1,817 an ounce. For more on finance, we're joined by author of the Stock Market Newsletter, Marcus Today. Marcus Padley, you look fantastic.
Morning, Maddie. How are you going?
You are bringing the Christmas joy.
TV's a show, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've got to put one on. I'm going to have one of your donuts. So I'm
Would you like one?
I'm going to go away with one of those later.
We're celebrating the return of those paddleboarders. Rong, she was saying that what kept him going through the 9 hours, which is pretty remarkable on the paddleboard, was the thought of a hot donut. So we thought we'd get time to celebrate.
Well, I do a lot of windsurfing, and as anyone on the water will tell you, when it's an offshore wind, do not
do it.
Because if anything breaks, you're just going to get blown across the bay. Exactly what happened.
Yeah. Speaking of breaking,
yes.
Elon Musk, Twitter. So he bought it a couple of months ago now, and since then he's sacked half the staff. Right. He put out a poll on Twitter more than 24 hours ago saying, should he step down as CEO? The results came back saying yes. He hasn't said anything since then. Do you think that he needs to step down?
There are a couple of things going on here. He's a creative genius, right? And pre-pandemic, he inspired people to greater things, and they followed him. Come the pandemic, come work from home. He's really struggled with work from home. I think a lot of business people have, because there are two bits to everybody. There's character, which is what you do when no one's looking, and then there's reputation, which is what the public see. And his character, I think, is fabulous and has inspired people that knew him. But come the pandemic, the character of some of his employees is, well, I don't want to work as hard. And
hang on, it's not his employees, it's him. He is the one who is doing the most extraordinary things with Twitter, letting Donald Trump back on, doing all of these things. No, I know all that. No, this is a character thing. He has been very hurt, I think, by the fact that some of his employees have used work from home to work less for the same money, and he's not inspiring them, they're not following him, and his world changed. And so now he's lashing out all that stuff about go pretend to work for someone else. That's his character is no longer carried through in his employees, and they've developed their own character, and he's really struggling with it. Creative geniuses are not managers. I think he should leave it to that mundane job of managing a business to somebody else, and whatever's best for Musk, because it's a personal thing. Hate to think what he's personally going through with all this, but it's only his reputation that's being attacked, not his character. You are the only person I know who is concerned about how poor on Elon Musk is doing throughout this whole thing. He's a genius. So he needs his mum to look after him because, because he's firing off left, right and centre because he's not
structured the way most managers are.
You make an interesting point. Steve Jobs was a very interesting man in that he could be creative at a technical level at Apple, but he could present well as well. And Elon Musk is not that kind of person, and it has stock market impacts.
It certainly does have, and that's why he should do it. Let the boring people run the businesses in a structured way. The other thing he's created is a lot of volatility for his employees, and people don't hang around if they don't know. And he's foolish. That's a really bad management mistake. I think he's
and for Tesla shareholders as well, who've seen that value of that plummet. Speaking of the stock market, that's your game. So,
yes,
stock
what
market.
would I know about Musk?
Stock market in 2022. Can you sum it up for us? I'm going to give you less than 1,000 words.
Less than 1,000 words. 2022 is. We're going to carry it. We're in this. Whatever's happening now will continue to happen. So that's your best bet. So we're going to continue to debate interest rates. I think we will get to a great buying opportunity at some point when interest rates actually top out and the market starts to look through the cycle. But there's nothing dangerous about the market at the moment. It's normal. We're in a cycle, and this is not the stuff of precipitous falls. We've had our fall. The US has anyway. They've had a tech wreck. You know, things like Meta's down 66%, and Tesla 60%, 45%, Facebook and all this sort of thing. They've had a tech wreck, and our market hasn't done too much. But next year we're at the lowest PE in years, and we've got the peak of interest rates will come, and we'll hopefully develop a new bull market. It's just not yet. So next year is the game of let's wait, let's time the bottom. The bottom isn't here yet, clearly, as we sort of...
So hard to time the bottom, though, Marcus.
No, it's not. I don't think it is. No,
tell me, because I seem to be failing at this quite simple task.
No, timing the market you can't be done, apparently, and that's because it suits the whole industry to suggest to you it can't be done. Because if you can time the market, every client would be ringing up every financial advisor, broker, saying, when do I buy, when do I sell, as opposed to just staying there, not doing anything, paying their fees makes life much easier for the industry. So they tell you can't time the market. You have to time the market. You can lose decades of steady, careful gains in short periods of time. You have to do something about it.
Any other predictions or tips for 2023?
Tips for 2023, be good to your mother. Buy low, sell high.
That's what I do the opposite. I tend to buy high, sell low.
And don't believe any predictions because nobody knows.
Okay. I'm still reeling from your sympathy for Elon Musk, who has shed thousands of advertisers and reputational goodwill
I just see
in Twitter.
a really creative genius who should not be in the job of doing salary reviews or telling people that they need to be in the office when they're not. He's not born to that. Let him do what I feel very personally for him because
as a creative genius yourself,
as a creative genius, because he's obviously hurt. He's hurt, I think, and as if I was his mum, I'd be saying, Elon, let them go, let them trash your reputation. Your character's okay. Let's look after that.
Marcus Padley, thank you very much. Thank you for coming in the Get Up, and Elon will be listening, I think.
I hope he is. Elon, all power to you.
Happy Christmas, Marcus.
Merry Christmas, guys.
Bit of breaking news. The ACT government has just announced that a board of inquiry will examine the prosecution of the former Liberal Party advisor Bruce Lehrmann, who was accused of raping his then colleague Brittany Higgins in 2019. The ACT government's decision follows a claim from the ACT's top prosecutor that police pressured him to abandon the case.
A board of inquiry is the ACT equivalent of a royal commission. Ms Higgins alleges Mr Lehrmann raped her in the office of then Cabinet Minister Linda Reynolds in Parliament House. Mr Lehrmann maintains his innocence and there are no findings against him. The Board of Inquiry will begin in the new year and will examine the Director of Public Prosecution's claims.
All right, let's get a little bit of sports news. And there's been some breaking news in the Melbourne Derby situation.
Yeah, some more breaking news, Mads. That's because police have confirmed that 13 people have now been charged for allegedly participating in Saturday's violent pitch invasion. That was during the A-League men's game between Melbourne Victory and Melbourne City. Police say 17 of the 23 people they released images of publicly have been identified. Football Australia has issued lifetime bans to 2 spectators involved, a 23-year-old man from Craigieburn and a 19-year-old man from Meadow Heights. Football Australia CEO James Johnson says the sport body is working on the investigation to ensure the ugly scenes from Saturday